Welcome class to your lecture video for Chapter 1, Getting Started. So usually when I do a video for a chapter, it will have a PowerPoint that is involved with it. This one does not, just simply because we're just setting up the programming environment. How do we set it up on different operating systems, and then we're going to work with text editors. So it's more of an installation type of chapter than it is per se kind of a lecture chapter. So first of all, what is Python? Python is an interpreted high-level programming language for general purpose programming. And as stated in the introductory video, if you have any experience with any other programming languages, what you're going to find with Python is that it's relatively easy to code because the syntax is really easy. Okay, it's really simplified, and that's what makes it so easy to learn. People use Python for many purposes, maybe to make a game or build a web app or solve business problems, to develop internet tools for their companies, to do data research, those kind of things. And the list can go on and on. So in our Chapter 1, we're going to run our first Python program, as all programming languages do. It's usually the hello world type of environment. So we're going to tackle that here in a little bit. Chapter 1 lectures. So this is where your lectures again will be posted. And then Chapter 1 assignments. So here, looking at this and just breaking it down, first thing that we're going to do today is install Python. And then we're going to look at our editors and what our editor options are. And then we'll just kind of continue to go down the list here. So first off, you want to make sure that you read Chapter 1. I think it's like 13 pages long. You know, you can go ahead and definitely skip the sections that are not with regards to your operating system. But definitely take a read through it. It ends on page 13, so nothing too terribly long. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to check to see if you have Python on your system. So in a Windows environment, it's the command prompt. In a Linux environment or a Mac environment, it's called the terminal. So I'm going to type in Python, and it's going to give me the Python prompt. So whenever you see in your textbook these three symbols, that tells you that you're at a Python prompt. So sometimes they'll do code examples where we're in this environment, and most of the times we're inside of an editor. But whenever you see those three symbols, you're not typing them. It's just your note that you need to be in a terminal or the command prompt. Well, right now I can see that I have Python 3.8.7. That's the version that I have. And so what we're going to do is we're going to install the version for you. Okay, so we're going to come to python.org. Python.org you're also going to use for your lab exercise 1-1. Okay, and I'll come back and I'll talk about that as well. So just click on downloads, and you can click on this download 3.9.2. They keep changing how this website is laid out and functions, but you're just generally going to save the exe file. That's one way, okay? Or you can go downloads, and then you can pick a version that you want to go ahead and download. So if it's an older version that you need to download, they're definitely listed here. So I'm just going to click on that 392. Okay, and then down in the files section, it's going to give me all these different options. So if you are a Mac user, you're going to want to go with one of these installers. If you're Windows, okay, and then up here is generally probably the Linux side of things. So I always do the embedded package, or not, I'm sorry, I don't do that. I do the installer. And you can see this is the one that is recommended. So that would be the default if you selected it the first option way. So I'll just go ahead and click on save. It'll take a little bit of time to download. I'm in Firefox, and Chrome, you know, you're going to see it down here at the bottom. And I'm actually going to go ahead and uninstall my version. If you have Python version 3.7 and newer, you won't have any problems with what is going to be assigned from our textbook. So I'll go ahead and click there. Now, actually it's going to not have me install because this is 3.9 and I have 3.8. On this window, it is so, so important that you click Add Python 3.9 or whatever version you're working with. Add Python to path. Okay, so make sure that you do that. If you accidentally forgot to check it, you're going to need to uninstall, okay, and then reinstall by using the executable file. Okay, so now I'm going to click on Install Now. Windows environment giving permission, and then we're going to go ahead, initialize the install, and then go through the install. Generally doesn't take too much time. Uninstall, I think, actually takes longer than the install itself. If you are a Mac user, please send me an email and let me know that, because then we have to handle, if you choose to do the alien invasion game, we have to handle it a little differently. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on close. I know now Python is installed. So I'm going to come back over here. Control Z takes me out of the Python prompt, and I'm going to type in Python again. Okay, so it's still coming up as 3.8.7, which is interesting, but I have more than one version here installed. So this is the Python prompt, and this is what you should receive once you've done that Python installation. So I can type in command like print, and then using the quotes, I can say hello Python world. I always type hello with a W. It's just, I don't know, it's odd. Hello Python world, quotes. And so that's a syntax. That's a syntax of a statement. When I do that, what's in the quotation marks will then go ahead and print out. Okay, so sometimes again in the book you will be given examples using the command prompt or the terminal, and then sometimes with an editor. So that leads me to the next part. We're going to go ahead and configure an editor. Now you have options, and I don't care what option you choose. I'm not going to judge which one you use, okay? So Sublime Text 3 is talked about on page 7, and how you can go about installing it, and then on top of page 10 will be the configuration of through Sublime. So here's how it goes. So here's Sublime Text 3. And then we just click on the download. Okay, and depending on what operating system you're on, which one are you going to choose? And I'm going to go ahead and do Windows 64-bit. Now I already have this installed, but you would just go ahead and save the file, run the executable file, and then you will get Sublime. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up. I've got a couple of files here. This is your alien invasion that you most likely will be working on. So I'm going to go ahead and, I wonder if I can do this. Remove from project. There we go. Okay, so here is Sublime. So once you have it installed, you will go ahead and open it up, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to configure it. Okay, so configure it to work with Python. So it's on the bottom of page 9 and the top of page 10. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Tools, Build System, and then New Build System. In here, you're going to type exactly what you see on the top of page 10. So it's Command, colon, and then we have kind of a list here. So square brackets, and then here we're going to say Python. Now, try Python first before you add 3 on it. Okay, and if Python doesn't work, then you will go to Python 3. So then this is -u, and then $file. Oops. Okay, and then make sure you don't miss the comma that is at the end. Now when you save this file, you'll go File, Save As, and you will not touch this directory. It needs to be installed where Sublime wants to install it. You're going to name it python3.sublime-build. Everything that is with regards to file names is generally case sensitive. Okay, so we need a capital P, okay, and then the 3, and then Sublime-build. Okay, so that's what you need to do there. that will configure Python to go ahead and run Python files. So let's go ahead and code our first file, which is, I'm going to have you put your name at the top and the date. And let's just say 3/7 is the day. And then we're just going to say print hello, look at that, W, Python world. If you can solve why I do that. Okay, here's the important thing. You have to save your files with a py file extension in order for your editor to know that it's a Python file. It's just like if you're in Word, you're going to save your Word file as a .docx, okay, so that it can recognize it as a Word document. So here we can code in way different languages, many different languages, but we just need to communicate to Python or to Sublime that we're doing a Python file. So I'm going to save as, and I generally save how the book recommends. I have a folder called Python_work on my desktop. Now you organize your files however you want to. And then I have a chapter 1, and I will save it as hello_world.py. And that is again the Python file extension. Now once I do that, I get code coloring. And based on whatever color scheme that I'm using, that's the code coloring that will come up. So code coloring comes from preferences, and you can go to color scheme and you can work with different color schemes. There's that one. So you choose, whatever color scheme you want. The first one, the one that you were looking at, was the M1, okay? So that is Sublime. Now when I run this, I can go Control B on my keyboard, or I go up to Tools and I say Build, which is Control B. Now, when you're doing the build system, make sure that you're on Python and not Python 3, okay? Especially if your build file was just Python versus the Python 3 command. Okay, so build, and then I get my print statement down here in the bottom. If you don't receive that, please let me know, okay? So that is the Sublime 3 text editor. Then there is also Geany. So Geany, we would go ahead and download. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on download. And we can go through releases and then to Windows or Mac or in a Linux environment. Okay, so we will go ahead and download the executable file, run the executable file, and then we'd have to go ahead and configure. Okay, so how do we configure Geany? So this is what Geany looks like. And when you configure Geany, you want to go to Tools. We want to go to, Build. So maybe I need to go New. Yep, I have to have a new blank file open. And then go to Build and Set Build Commands. Now this is not in your book in any way. Okay, this is the editor that they used in the first version. So in your path here, so for the compile path, you're going to use the following path as a guideline. Okay, so on using your File Explorer app, you're going to go down this path. So let's see if I can do this by kind of tiling my windows here. Move this one over here. Okay, so I'm going to start at my C drive. So I'm going to go to this PC, then C drive, and then to users, and then whatever your username is. Mine is amy.helgeson, and then app data. Now, if you don't see app data on a Windows system, you're going to go to your view, and you're going to make sure that in the show hide, that hidden items is checked. Okay, then you will be able to see these hidden folders. So app data, then to local, programs, and then to Python and then whatever version you're working with. So if you did the latest one with, you would go to Python 3.9. This one's an old path. And then you would choose, that's all the further you're going to go. Okay. So I'm going to expand this window, and what you're going to do is you're going to right click on the breadcrumb trail. So right click on the last one and copy address. Then in the Genie editor, in the set build commands, you're going to paste it. Now this command might not be there. I'm going to go ahead and take it out as if it's not there. I'm going to go ahead and paste in. It didn't copy it. I'm going to try to copy it again. So back here, copy address as text. Okay, and back here, paste in. Okay, then you're going to do a backslash, and then you're going to type in this command at the end. I'm going to put this in my little notepad document. Okay, so it's already there. Python, then space, then -m, space, py_compile, space, quotation marks with %f in there. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it right here. Then once that is done, you will copy all of that and paste it into the execute as well. And then click OK. So this is going to say compile, and this should say execute. You don't have to worry about anything in the middle. Okay, so that's how you configure the editor for Genie. Okay, some people call it Genny. Then there's Microsoft Visual Studio. You can go ahead and just do Microsoft VS Code download. And you can click on that, and then again go through the download. So whatever system you're at, this is Linux, Mac, Windows, you will go ahead and do that download. Visual Studio Code, you don't have to do any configuration of it. All you have to do is open a Python file in it, so a .py, and it will ask you down in the bottom if you want to install Python, and you just click the button. Okay, I don't use Visual Studio a lot, but definitely if that's your editor of choice, you certainly can do that. And then if you run into any problems, let me know. Okay, back to Genie. I'm going to go ahead and open that Hello World. It's not responding, so we'll let it work out here. Maybe I'll just close it and then open it up again. And it doesn't do that I've never noticed Genie, doing something like that. So don't think it's a bad editor. So we'll open up Genie. I'll go ahead and open that Hello World file from my desktop and Python Work, Chapter 1, Hello World. And so there is my code that I just typed over in Sublime. And I'll go ahead and click on Execute here to execute. So the difference between the two editors is that you're going to get a window that will open up in kind of like a terminal type of environment, and it will give you your output. Whereas in Sublime, it opens the output here at the bottom. Now I will say this about Sublime versus Genie and Visual Studio. Visual Studio is free if you use, kind of the stripped down version of it. Genie is free as well. Sublime is free, but they really do want you to pay for it. It will pop up occasionally saying, would you please purchase? And so it's your morals if you want to do Sublime versus the Genie editor versus Visual Studio. So I'm not going to monitor if you purchase it or not. That's totally your choice. Okay, so let's look at the labs real quick. 1-1. So I have these in a textbook environment from the first version, and so they're still worded the same, so I'll just pull this up here. Oh, this is the icky one, so I gotta close that out. I never know which one it is. Oh, that's even worse. I'm going to go ahead and close all tabs there. I'm going to go ahead and just open this one. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go into chapter 1. We'll jump to this section and scroll down even further. Oh, I gotta click over here. Okay, so there's the labs. We'll increase the zoom on this. Okay, so Python.org is our first lab, 1-1. And I mentioned that we would be using this. So explore Python homepage to find topics that interest you. And as you become familiar with Python, different parts of the site will be more useful to you. So coming back here, and if I were just to go to the homepage, so click back here on Python, suggestions, you can read something a little bit more here, or if you want to go into news and events and read information there, just explore the website and then again provide me what interests you. I generally say a paragraph is what I want to see for 1-1. Okay, we're going to jump to 1-3 and then I'll come back to 1-2. 1-3, infinite skills. If you had infinite programming skills, what would you build? And then just think about those dreams. And again, generally a paragraph is what I want to see for 1-3. Hello world typos. So now we're going to look at hello world and how we can create typos. So in the directions, it says that we need to make a typo that generates an error and then ask if you can make sense of that error message. And then change something in the code that doesn't generate an error. And then why do you think it didn't make an error? So coming back here, back to Sublime. If I were to say not have matching quotes. So typically when we have an opening parenthesis, we're going to have a closing parenthesis, and the same thing goes with quotation marks. So let me go ahead and run this code, and I get a syntax error. And it says end of line while scanning string literal. Okay, so whenever you see string literal, it's always referring to quotes. So that is why it errored, is because there wasn't matching quotes. So what I want you to do is create 2 of these. And you're going to make one error so that the program doesn't work, and you're going to make one not error. Okay, so let's make this one the error so that we actually get the output of the first one. So this one you're going to change something that does not generate an error. And then this one is going to generate an error. What you need to do is explain to me using a comment like I am with a hashtag. Explain to me why. Okay, so why do you think, and there's no wrong or right answer, it's just where you're at with what you know. Okay, so what could you change in here that wouldn't generate an error, and what can you change in here that would generate an error? That is your 1-2. So 1-1 you can type up in a Word document or a Notepad document. Same thing with 1-3. And then this one you're going to save as a Python file. So I'll go ahead and save this. And let's just say here, I'm going to take that quote off. So why does that generate an error? That's what I want as an explanation. Okay, so I have this file. I have all 3 of my files. I'm going to create a zip file. So I'm now going to come to my desktop and go into Python work, go into chapter 1. Okay, so here's 1-1 and 1-3 in a Notepad document, and then I need hello world. So I hold down my control key and I select both of those, and I say send to in a Windows environment, compressed zip folder. Okay, call it chapter 1. And then that is the folder that you're going to upload to the chapter 1 Dropbox here. Okay, so if you have questions on how to zip or questions on any of these labs, you just need to let me know. And then again, you want to complete the quiz. Okay, so make sure you read the 13 pages before you go ahead and go for that quiz as well. And by all means, use your book. Use your book. You can even, like when we get into quizzes that are asking for code, type them in the editor. See if they work, and then bring your code back into the box that is in Blackboard for that quiz question. Okay, that is your chapter 1. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.